The next piece that we're going to go into is a piece of research that's been brought to you by the Agency Collective. Now, this piece of research is very exclusive. It's only been published just today, but has not been publicized. And this is where we really get to have a look at the state of diversity and investigate diversities in the agencies across the UK. So please welcome Agency Relationship Manager from the Agency Collective, Jeni Bond. Thank you, Jeni.
Thank you. Oh, I haven't got my thing. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see all of you. My name's Jeni from the Agency Collective. We are a community of agency owners who provide peer support to one another, guidance, advice on a lot of the challenges that you face running agencies. We're always trying to push for positive change, whether that's social change for good, whether that is, I've forgotten the word, but something that is very, very important to us is equity, diversity and inclusion. And we noticed that there is an imbalance. There is an imbalance, and we'd like to just have a look into that and address that. It's not doing anything. Oh, there's a picture of my face. So in the true agency relationship style, something that we're good at, something that we love and really, really enjoy doing is facilitating conversation and just getting people talking about what matters to them, about the kind of challenges that they face on whichever topic. And that's what I'd like to do today, is I'd like to reach out and ask you all some questions while I'm presenting some of the statistics to you. So we've got Martin at the back there with a microphone should we need it. The acoustics are fairly good in here, so hopefully, you know, if we do need a microphone, he's there. Okie dokie. So agency life used to be very, very different to what it is now. I think predominantly white guys running around in suits, you know, working till 4 a.m. with no breaks just because they've got deadlines. And, you know, the landscape has now changed in the agency world. And, I mean, society has changed. And we need to keep up those changes. We need to keep making positive progress in the right direction. So in wanting to make a difference, we knew that we had to benchmark where we are at the moment, and we're going to do this every single year. This was our first survey, and we worked together with Agency Hallam on this so that we could try and get a good idea of how agencies across the UK represent in many different areas. So yeah, we just wanted somewhere to start from so that we had some knowledge of where we are now, and then in a year's time we can compare it and just see which, you know, where we're progressing and where we need to make more progress. So here's 3 statistics that I found really, really fascinating. Mostly the one on the left. So 39% of agencies employ no people of underrepresented ethnic groups. That's nearly half. That's a lot. And something that I'd like to ask everybody here is, what do you think the benefits are of having a diverse workforce?
Okay. Diverse background and experiences.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So we've got cultural understanding, different perspectives. What else?
And yeah, basically build your products or services or campaigns around the audiences you're trying to reach.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's 39% of agencies that are not reaching this, that are not taking advantage of this. And to me, that just seems crazy. So I'm going to move on to the other statistics in a little while, but that one I felt was very, very important, and I wanted to start off with that. So something else that we found that was very interesting out of our results was the ethnic breakdown of marketing agencies. And although this poll doesn't show you exactly what I'm about to tell you, what we did discover is that if a leadership team is predominantly white, so is the workforce. And the same goes for if a leadership team has ethnic diversity, so does the workforce. And the one thing that we thought might explain this is a type of unconscious bias, which is affinity bias. So it's being more aligned or more favorable towards people who look like us, look like ourselves. So what's going to be interesting, which I'm hoping that we can find out today, is how to break through that affinity bias, how we put aside that subconscious bias and start making the right changes so that we're not, basically missing out on people that are culturally very good for us. Yes, yeah. So, something I'd like to ask, has anybody ever heard the term, I just hire the best person for the job? I mean, how many times do we hear that? It's something that we hear all the time. What's wrong with that statement?
It doesn't count all the bias that you personally have and bring into the room.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, absolutely, absolutely. So accessibility. I mean, not everybody has the same opportunities. There's so many different backgrounds. I mean, if you're recruiting for somebody that has at least 3 years experience and this, that, and the other, you may be missing out on people who are absolutely brilliant, but haven't had the access to the experience that they need in order to apply for your role. The same goes for certain types of education. I mean, obviously in some roles, you have to have a form of education. I mean, you can't go and be a GP without, without those qualifications. But when it comes to agency land, a lot of the time we're very creative, and it's about measuring what somebody can do rather than what they have done. So that is a statement that we like to try and avoid. So let's talk about women in agencies. And this is something that I find very, very interesting. So although there has been some progression, we have discovered through our survey and by talking to women in agencies that the one thing that is quite troublesome is that they do not progress in agencies at the same rate as men. So the statistics that we have show that although there is a higher number of women in the general workforce of agencies, there's a much lower percentage of women in the leadership teams. And when you listen to women's stories about how they've got through the agency, how their careers have gone, generally we find that women are progressing much, much slower. So a question I would like to ask everybody here is, why do you think women are progressing slower than men? What's holding them back?
I'm going to target a man,
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because often at the exact time they would be going into management, they have a baby, and then it throws off their career pathway because they have a year or they have maternity leave, and it's harder, I think, mentally for many agencies who are client-focused to have someone either come back part-time or they are concerned that they won't be able to give their all to clients as they did before.
Yes, so that is one very, very important point, is how do women come back to work after having a baby? Yeah, absolutely. You can lose your confidence. Your team can lose confidence in you because you've been out of it for a while. So yeah, that is something that definitely needs to be addressed, is being able to come back and still be considered as capable as you were when you left. Anything else? Yep. Absolutely. So thinking of equity, how can we make this a more even playing field? Bring your kids to work day.
It's often a logistical issue, I think, with childcare. As the lady says, it often does fall on the woman for a whole bunch of reasons. And it can be as simple as, you're expected to come to an 8 a.m. meeting, and if you can't, that's looked down upon. It's often not a spoken thing, but that is sometimes women hold back because they think, I'm going to have a baby, I won't be able to do that, so if I go for that promotion now, it's a mixture, I think, of logistical issues sometimes and confidence, both from the employer and the employee.
Yeah. So again, you've just mentioned the same thing, the confidence there post having a baby, and it's, I mean, it's a tough one. It's one that I don't currently have the answers to, and that I'd love to, because it's something I'm very, very passionate about. I'm hoping I'm going to learn a bit more about it today.
I've got a quick question, Jenny, if I
go
can
on
have a
then.
question.
Question/point. Does this line up with the previous slide in if most agencies, or assuming a lot of agencies run by men, hiring men makes it harder? If a female-owned agency, have you noticed any kind of difference
Well, that's
there?
the thing. It's the general workforce of agencies is there's more women than there are men in the general workforce. So they're hiring women, they're just not progressing. So that's the issue, is the progression. Right, so let's have a chat about disability and accessibility. Now, these statistics, they shocked me a little bit. So 57% of agencies do not ask if their employees are neurodiverse. Now, it's a tricky one because you don't want to ask. It's a question that a lot of people don't want to ask, but if you don't ask and then it turns out that there is some neurodiversity there, then later on down the line, you haven't made the right adjustments, and then you could potentially have problems. So with that one, I'd like to ask, how and when do you ask an employee if they have a disability? Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure on the recruitment process, but the reason I was asking when is because I think it's encouraged to ask once you've recruited somebody so that you can make any adjustments that need to be done in order for them to be able to do their job.
On the legal question, I just happen to know that it
Oh.
is legal as long as you ask everybody.
Yes.
So if you ask everybody
Okay.
and don't make a decision based on the answer, but then you can absolutely drill down on it in terms of making adjustments for the role.
Fantastic, thank you. So anybody else? I mean, have you got any experience in asking new staff members if they have a disability and how you felt about doing that?
We ask, well, I personally, as the HR manager, ask everybody, a standard form that goes out to everybody has a few different questions. One of those is, do you have a disability that you want to let us know about?
Yeah.
And we don't define disability. Obviously, there is a legal definition when it comes to employment. But people do come back and say, yes, I've got dyslexia. That's happened quite a few times. I just want you to be aware, but I don't need to do anything. Or, yes, I do want you to make these adjustments. So it's really useful, but you have to do it after you've made the job offer, so they don't have any fear. And it comes to me. So obviously I do generally let their line manager know, but I ask them if that's okay, so they don't feel that they've accepted the job and now they feel nervous, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just funny because I was having a conversation about this earlier in the week, and someone said to me, when should I ask? I mean, the one thing I would say is it's never asked during the recruitment process, because no one's, people will not want to come forward and sort of talk about their disabilities if they have fear of persecution from that. So I think we should be talking about it more. I mean, the fact that, 70% of agencies have never made any adjustments. Yeah, so it makes me just think, do they know if any of, these 70%, do they know if they have any staff that may need adjustments? Have they ever asked them? So, yeah, quite an important one, I think. So, just going to finish off with something that I've already heard some of this spoken about already, but these are the tips that we got out of completing this survey in terms of recruiting for better diversity. So, stop looking for the culture fit and start looking for the culture add. Source candidates from new places, which is something that has obviously been spoken about today. So don't advertise roles on the same old websites if you get the same sort of people applying. So have a look around, see what's out there. Don't stick to the same LinkedIn recruitment strategies if you're only getting the same kind of candidates. Don't stop recruiting for a role until you have candidates from various ethnic backgrounds and an equal gender split, because then when it comes to deciding on your new candidate, you know that it has been fairly measured. Make sure the interview panel is diverse and gender balanced. And also, the questions you ask at interviews should be exactly the same for each candidate. Thank you very, very much for answering some of my questions today. Thank you for bearing with me while I'm scrolling through my notes. I've really enjoyed this. It's been great, and I'm really, really pleased I could share this with you. One thing I will say is that this entire survey results are now available. We have just published them. They are on our website, which is theagencycollective.co.uk. Just pop on there, go on to content, and you can see the DE&I survey results on there. And it's quite a big stack, which is why I didn't present all of it today. Thank you very much.